All right, Bobby here. This is part 2 of Mind Control, the ingredients to seduction. And as you know, this is the first main module of the Unlock Her Legs program. So in the first section of this, in part 1, we talked quite a bit about the psychology of seduction, your goals in creating this sort of mental seduction, your end of the bargain, what you need to be keeping in mind and doing. And I also gave you an introduction about how this is going to relate to the rest of the program, why you need to learn it. In part 2, we're going to be going over the specific tactics. And these are going to be 10 of my favorite personal tactics for exerting mind control, creating seduction, getting that hard-to-get girl to fall for you. So let's get right into it. So the first tactic that I think is really powerful, that plays into many of the different things that we talked about in the psychology of seduction, the validation, the fact that fear of loss overpowers potential gain, the fact that people want what they can't have, that the mind has a desire to understand. So what the first thing you want to be doing is sending mixed signals. Sending mixed signals allows you to take up her mental space because you are unpredictable. She does not figure you out. She can't figure you out. She's thinking about you. This gets her addicted to the chase because now that she does not know whether or not she can have you, she's perpetually in a state of trying to win you over, trying to get that validation she felt back because at one point you showed her, a strong appreciation for her. You seemed really into her. She thought that you really wanted her. You wanted to be her boyfriend, all these sort of things. And then you pulled away and you took some of that validation away. And now she wants anything to get it back. So how do you do this? The best way that I like to do it is through ambiguity. What I mean by that is you want to keep things ambiguous. You never want her to completely know what's going on. That's why I never recommend, no matter how much you have a desire early on in an interaction to express your feelings, you don't want to do that. Because once you, tell a girl how you feel, you give your hand away. You no longer hold that power. Once you have the talk with her and you tell her you want to be her boyfriend, you no longer have that ability to use that to your advantage, the ambiguity. So how does ambiguity work? It means that you just keep her wondering. What does he really think of me? And I said never express your feelings, but that's not quite true. You can let things slip out, but then you have to, at other times, sort of take them back. It's kind of like this idea of mixed intentions. She should not know what you want. When I met my current girlfriend, at the time, I knew her friend. And before I met my girlfriend, her friend had seen me quite a bit with other girls, at barbecues, dating them. And her friend sort of thought of me as a player. So when I met my girlfriend, her friend had sort of pre-warned her that I'm a player. So that was the mentality that my girlfriend had going into meeting me. So sometimes I would hang out with her and, would go on dates and almost take things to a level where she thought, oh, well, maybe he's serious. But in the back of her mind, she always thinks, is this for real? Because I would pull away sometimes. Sometimes you do something called future projecting. So a great way to do this is sometimes you're talking to her about something. Maybe you're both talking about how you like to ski or snowboard, and you say, oh, we totally have to go up to, Vermont and go snowboarding together. But then other times you act like you never even said it. Because now you gave her this future with you, this intention that she's going to be with you, but then you kind of take it away. And now she doesn't know why you took it away. And as we talked about, it's all ego-based. It's all validation, and now she thinks she did something wrong. She thinks that you don't see her as being as special as you did, and this trains her to fight for your approval. Another way to send mixed signals is by displaying multiple sides of your personality. She should not be able to completely figure you out in any way. If you're always one way, you want to mix it up. So don't always be the super responsible guy. Don't always be super laid back. Let her see different sides of you. If you're usually calm and cool and blow up sometimes, display a temper. Let her see different sides of you. If you're always into reading and you're kind of a quiet guy, let her see you out at a bar just, letting loose. You want her to see different sides of you so she can't figure you out, because once she figures you out, that desire to figure you out goes away, and it kind of sets in a little bit of monotony. Excitement and boredom mixing together. What I mean by this is some days you should make her feel like you're completely excited to be around her. Other days, maybe you're not as into her. Maybe your interest has waned a little bit. Now, I'm not telling you to necessarily fake it, but the fact of life is some days are funner than other days. But what we tend to do as guys is we're so scared of letting her think that we're boring that when we get in front of her, we feel like we have to entertain her, that we have to always act like we're super interested. But you know what? If one day, she's kind of acting a little boring, don't be scared to just, appear bored. Like maybe, you're noticing something about her that you don't like. That triggers that desire to win. That triggers her to want that validation back. And that is really what you need to be doing to keep her interest primed. All right, let's go into the next tactic, which is appear to be the object of desire. Now, as we talked about in part 1 of this video, people want, especially women, want what they think other people want. Now, this works because you want to spark her desire to win. If you've ever been in a contest, once there's a prize, even if you don't really want the prize, we have a natural desire to want to be the person who wins it, to want people to see us win it, to want to know that we can win it. And this is a powerful concept, extremely powerful if you're trying to get out of the friend zone or if you're trying to get an ex back. I had a friend, Bill, who was dating this girl, Melissa, and he wound up breaking up with her, but then he decided he wanted her back, and she didn't want to come back at this point. And he did all the usual stuff. He bought her flowers. He sent her chocolates. He begged. He pleaded that he would be different. He did all the normal stuff that guys do when they're trying to get back with their ex. None of it was working. Now, Bill had a previous girlfriend that lived out in Norway. And this girl, invited him out to Norway after he was broken up with Melissa. And on his Facebook status update, he wrote, "Leaving for Norway." Now, Melissa, of course, knew that his ex-girlfriend lived in Norway. Now, all the flowers, all the chocolates, all the begging, all the pleading did not get her to want to meet up with him. All it took was one Facebook status update that said, "On the plane, getting ready to go to Norway," that had her calling him up in a blind panic, begging him to hang out. That is the power of the desire to win, of creating a triangle, of getting a girl to be interested. Now, you have to be very subtle about this. Girls, especially, if you're trying to get a female friend to see you in a different way, you can't blatantly talk about another girl. It's got to be subtle. Just like sending mixed signals, it's got to be sort of ambiguous, sort of vague. One way you can do it is, let's say you're out with a girl. Have you ever been out with a girl and she's getting a lot of text messages? And she doesn't answer them, but she just looks at them and smiles or laughs, and you're sitting there wondering. And in your mind, you're like, it's probably a fucking guy texting her. But you don't really know, so you can't really be mad at her. But at the same time, it's like, ugh, it kind of bugs you. Well, that's sort of the feeling you want to get with a girl. You don't want to tell her, oh, I just got a text message from a girl. You want to kind of pull your phone out when you get a text, look at it, smile, and then put your phone in your pocket without responding to it. That is a lot more powerful because that leaves it all to the imagination. Now she starts imagining who might be texting you. It's also great to have girls in your life. Like, I remember, a trick that we had done back in the day, my friends and I, was we had set up fake MySpace profiles. This was actually when MySpace was popular. and we would leave comments on our profiles from these fake girls, and we would have elaborate profiles of these fake girls because we knew that other girls that we knew would check these girls out, so it couldn't be blatantly fake. And it would work like a charm. I remember one time I was having a Halloween party, and the girl that I really wanted to go to the party was a female friend of mine, and she didn't show up at the party, and I was really, kind of disappointed. So I had my friend in his fake profile left me a comment on MySpace saying, oh, as the fake girl, saying, had so much fun at your party, and some other like vague sexual reference or whatnot. And it elicited so much jealousy in my other friend, the female, where she started asking me, so who was that girl that left you? Asking me, trying to not come out and say it, but trying to pry for information. And in that situation, you always want to be vague and just say, oh no, she's just a friend. Always be vague, because it does not come across as bragging or try hard. When you actually say, oh, immediately I'm going and hanging out with this awesomely hot girl, then she knows what you're doing. She knows you're trying to make her jealous, and it doesn't work. But when you're vague, it's a lot more powerful. Other ways to appear to be an object of desire is keep female friends in your life. Join something, whether it be a class like yoga class, salsa lessons. Do something, a part-time job, waiting tables or bartending. You want to have female friends in your life, because when you do meet a girl that you really, really like, it's a lot easier to play the game and to appear to be the object of desire if there's other women in your life. If she's the only woman in your life, she's going to get that sense very quickly. She's going to know you don't have many other female friends, there's no real competition, and she's going to let her guard down, and she's not going to be as, trying to win you over, trying to impress you. She's not going to be seeking your validation as much, because she's going to think, this guy doesn't have many options. But if you have a ton of female friends texting you, commenting on Facebook, that makes her go, whoa, this guy has a lot of chicks in his life. I've got to fight for this one. He's got something going on, and I got to make sure I don't let him slip away. You can also do this by staying in touch with ex-girlfriends. Not always the best idea, but if you have ex-girlfriends that you can legitimately be friends with, keep in touch with them, because exes are great at eliciting jealousy. Because as much as you say, there's nothing going on between us, the girl always thinks there is. So, like I said previously in part 1, women want the drama. They want it. They want to be in an episode of a soap opera. They like that. They like having to fight for your attention. They like having a nemesis, another girl that they're competing against. So let her have it. Give it to her. Give her the drama. Let her think there's competition. Do everything in your power to create competition. All right, let's get into the next one. The next one is called the partners in crime technique. And Rob and I talk about the partners in crime in, understanding and beyond rapport. And, we talk about it several times throughout Unlock Your Legs, the rest of the program. But I want to talk about it specifically in regards to why it's so effective in creating this level of mind control. And the reason it's so effective is because one of your major goals of mind control is to make her miss you when you're not around. And creating this partners in crime vibe with her does that. Some ways to do that. Inside jokes are one of my favorites. So you create these inside jokes with a girl. And if you want to see like a brilliant display of this, is watch like season 1 or season 2 of The Office. Not the new ones, because the new ones suck, but watch season 1 or season 2 when Pam in the office was she was going to marry some other guy, and Jim and her have all these like inside jokes and stuff. And you can just see it. It was so real, because that's the way it is that, when one of them isn't around and one, something happens that they know the other one is going to laugh at, they miss them. They go to look for them and they're not there. And that's what you want. You want all these jokes that when something happens, you're the person she thinks about. You're the one she wants to laugh about it with. It could be anything. So maybe, if it's a girl that you go to school with, maybe it could be like something that you both know about your teacher or your your classmates, or if you work with her, it could be coworkers. If it's something in, a girl that you know from your social circle, maybe the two of you can have some like inside jokes about a couple people or something that happened. You want something that when it could be like a song. So like back in the day, when I was working at this restaurant, Jesse's Girl, when we'd all go out to bars with my social circle, that was like the song. It was just a joke amongst my friends, but we'd always like beg the DJ to play it and stuff and just act stupid when it was on. And girls got really accustomed to that. So now it's like you can be damn sure that if that girl's at another bar somewhere else and the song Jesse's Girl comes on, she was going to be thinking about me. And that's the kind of stuff you want to plant in their mind. Things to make them think about you when you're not around. You can do this by sharing secrets. So maybe like you know something about somebody or something, and you tell her, and you're the only person that knows, and she's the only person that knows. So now you have this common secret. It could be common goals. So maybe you both have this like really strong desire to go backpacking across Europe, and you future project that, and you talk about this like, yeah, we're gonna go to Spain, and we're gonna get on the train, and we're gonna go to Greece, and you have this like sort of just like this role play that you have together, and it's a partners in crime. It's just a way that the two of you have this imaginary future that you talk about. And that way, it's just all these different things build you into her consciousness. It makes it so that she's thinking about you when you're not around, and that adds to everything else. It's just one more element. All these different things, they all play a specific role. This role works to get her thinking about you when you're not around. The next element of a seduction is keeping her in suspense. You want to get her addicted to the anticipation of hearing from you. So, if you can like train her to be waiting around for your text messaging, it's like you're getting her addicted to that feeling now. And now she's used to it, and she replays it, and it's just an addicting feeling. You don't want to let her take you for granted. That's probably one of the biggest ways guys blow it early on in a relationship is they let the girl take them for granted. They do this because they're always available. They always text her right back. They call her right back. Every time she calls, they're there. And there's no suspense. There's no, is he going to call? Is he going to want to hang out this weekend? She just takes it for granted. She thinks, of course he's going to want to hang out this weekend. There's no suspense. What you really want is this mindset of when is he going to call me? When is he going to text me? Because that hour that she's waiting for you to call, that's the most she's going to be into you. When she's pulling out her phone and you're not messaging her, when she sends you a text and an hour or two has gone by and you haven't sent her back, that's the peak. That's where she's thinking about all your good qualities. That's where the validation that you had given her all of a sudden is like, what happened? Did he recognize something in me that, did I not look good one day? Did he realize that I'm not as, sexy as he thought I was? Then the fear of loss kicks in. The fight for your approval kicks in. Nothing, there's no time that she's more into you than that hour that she's waiting for you to call her back. Your value peaks during anticipation. One excellent technique to create her in suspense is to create and then break patterns. How do you do that? Well, so if you always text her right back and then you don't text her right back, it's going to be a lot more powerful than if you always take an hour to text her back. So, or if you're always like varied with when you text her back, then she just assumes, oh, he's busy, he works. But if you're always like, you ever have a girl that like every time you text her, she texts back within 5 minutes. But then one time you text her and it's like 2 hours, 3 hours, she hasn't texted back. Now you're like, what's going on? Something happened. Why isn't she texting me back? What's going on? Because she had created a pattern of always texting you right back, and then she broke that pattern. So when it comes to like calling, hanging out, all these sort of things, you want to create a pattern and then break it. Same thing with canceling plans. Cancel plans from time to time. This increases your value, first of all, because people want what they can't have. And when you actually cancel plans, now she's anticipated seeing you. Now she can't see you, and now she wants it so much more. It's like if you were like planning on going to a concert and then that concert got canceled, you're like so disappointed, and now you're just imagining how good it would have been, and you can't wait to the next time. There's definitely a disappointment there. but it does not ruin the attraction. That's what most guys don't understand. Yes, you can disappoint a girl, but that doesn't make her less attracted to you. It actually increases your value. And when you cancel plans, it's always best to be vague or ambiguous. So if you're going to cancel, let's say you're planning on seeing her on a Friday night, and you decide, let me cancel. And it's always best to cancel for really legitimate reasons. Like, there's always something you could be doing instead of hanging out with her. A lot of times early on, we choose the girl, and we put her as a top priority, and of course she notices this, and it sort of lowers our value. But find something else to do, but don't tell her what you're doing. Just call her up and say, hey, listen, I'm really sorry. Can't hang out tonight, but let's definitely do something next week. So you see how you didn't tell her, you didn't explain why you were canceling plans, and you didn't say, let's do something next Monday. You were pretty vague, and you were pretty ambiguous, and it leaves her wondering now what happened. And that is what you want her thinking, keeping her in suspense. What happened? Don't be the reliable nice guy. The nice guy never wants to disappoint her. He's so scared that she's going to be upset if he cancels plans or if he can't hang out one day. But she does not want that. Although it's intuitive, remember, attraction is counterintuitive. Disappointing her does not ruin attraction. Another way to keep her in suspense is, an unexpected twist. Showing something that some kind of surprising her with a reaction or an action. And I'll just give you an example of an unexpected twist. I was dating this girl, Nicole, and at the time I was dating her, I was very into my business, very responsible, very, just all around and like a total, I guess the best way I can say it is like a total responsible guy mode. But I had gone out to a Christmas party that weekend, and I was supposed to hang out with her the next day. And I wound up getting in a fight, actually in a fight over another girl, which you can read about in my How Not to Get Over a Girl, the Sickness story. But anyway, so I get in a fight with this guy, and the next day I'm supposed to hang out with Nicole, and she calls me, and I'm like, I probably don't want to see me. And she's like, why? And she thought I was like trying to blow her off or cancel on her. And I told her, I'm like, well, actually, I got in a fight. And she said, I'll just come over. And she actually like makes me cookies and whatever, and shows up at my house. And I had gotten my ass kicked. I'm not gonna lie and say that I won the fight. I definitely took the worst off in the fight. And she sees me, and I got a black eye. I'm swollen. And I explained to her. Of course, I don't tell her that I was fighting over another girl, but I tell her that I got in a fight. And that was like an unexpected twist. It wasn't what she was expecting, and it sort of kept her in suspense because here it was like this image of me as this responsible entrepreneur guy, and here I was getting in fistfights in a bar on a Christmas party. And that keeps her in suspense. That keeps her wondering what's going to happen next. Who is this guy? He's not reliable. And although reliable in a relationship might seem like a good quality, it's also something that kills attraction. I don't want to say kill attraction, but it's not something that ignites attraction as much as keeping her in suspense. So, the next one, see her as her ideal self. Now, this goes back to our lesson in part 1 when we talked about the psychology of seduction and how most decisions are made by our ego, and how ultimately love is a game of validation, and the game of getting somebody to fall in love with you is a mixture of validation and withholding validation. So you want to see her as her ideal self, and me and Rob talk about this in our video together called Mirror Mirror. Some elements you want to keep in mind is remember key things about her, figure out how she sees herself, and mirror it back to her. So if she sees herself as some like artistic, creative girl, talk to her as if she's some artistic, creative girl. If she sees herself as being like a great writer or very expressive or witty, talk to her as if she's expressive or witty, and really see these qualities in her. Don't fake it. Try to notice them, because that's what she's trying to show you. That's what she wants to be seen as. Like, you may talk to her and try to be funny because you want to be seen as funny, but she's trying to show you what she wants to be seen as. Recognize it and appreciate her for it. Think about it. Don't you like to be around people who find you smart? Or have you ever met somebody, like whether it be a girl or a guy friend, who finds you really funny. Don't you find that you really want to be around her because they find you funny and they appreciate your humor and they're validating you? And what's interesting is if that same person, that same friend or that same girl all of a sudden stopped laughing as much as your jokes or stopped wanting to be around you as much, you would be fighting to get that approval back because you were validated by them, and now you're wondering, am I not as funny? Am I not as smart? Am I not as interesting? That is the game of validation and withholding validation. So you want to notice these qualities in her. She's trying to display things to you. She's trying to display her femininity to you. She's trying to display aspects of her ideal self, the person she wants to be. And what you need to do is you need to let yourself become seduced by these qualities in her. A lot of guys mistakenly believe that love is about doing or saying things to her, showing her how funny you are, showing her how entertaining or smart you are. But in reality, like I said in the last video, love is about validating her, giving her the validation she craves. So by letting yourself become seduced by these qualities, not by her looks, not by, her superficial qualities, but by the things that she feels are her unique special qualities, you are giving her that validation. Also, encourage and bring out the best in her. We all want to be around the person that brings out the best in us. And also remember, love is a constant game of seeking validation. You want her to see the best qualities in you, and when you notice that, when you're sensing that she's noticing that you're special, that's like love. That's the feeling of love. It's like, wow, I'm with somebody who really sees me as being special. And she needs to feel that. All these other things, all these other mind games and all these other tactics, they don't work if she doesn't feel that validation. Because she can easily walk away. Any guy can be funny. Any guy can make her laugh, to spark her emotions, to turn her on sexually. But the difference of the guy she falls in love with or the guy she's just momentarily attracted to is the guy she falls in love with validates aspects of her. And that's what you're trying to do. All right, so the next technique or the next tactic, weapon of seduction that we're going to talk about is something called being sticky. And this is basically the way you catch the attention of a group, and it's another way to stay in her mind, to sort of crawl inside her brain and become a part of her. Now, I learned this concept growing up watching wrestling, because it always amazed me growing up why certain wrestlers just caught on. Guys like The Rock and Stone Cold, when I was in college, just everybody would walk around just repeating their catchphrases and stuff. And it really, I was obsessed with the idea of why some people were sticky and some people weren't. And you notice that certain people maybe in your social circle are sticky as well. The way they talk, other people catch on to. Other people start repeating the sort of words they use, the things they like, the ideas they have. And you want to ultimately become sticky to the girl you're trying to seduce. Because this, like I said, it takes up mental space. It creates that partners in crime vibe. So this keeps you on her mind when you're not around. It's the talk that catches on. You can do this, like I said, by using words, using catchphrases, the way you describe things. I have a friend who, he used to use the word fantabulous when he would talk about something. And I would notice, 2 weeks into him dating this girl, she started using that word. And as soon as I heard her say fantabulous describing something, I knew she was hooked because she was using his words. I used to use the word, daddy. I would call myself, hey, daddy. Or, I would, if I was talking to a girl, I'd be like, yeah, daddy likes that. And girls would start talking back to me like, oh, come on, daddy. And once they started doing that, I was like, I knew I got them because they're starting to use my words, my way of communicating. And you know it's working when the girl's using your words, your expressions, or when, more importantly, she shows an interest in what you're passionate about. So years ago, I was really passionate about traveling to Brazil. I love traveling. I love the country of Brazil. And girls would associate me with the entire country of Brazil. I was sticky in that way. So if a girl saw like Brazil bathing suits, they would think of me. Anytime they heard anything about Brazil, I came to their mind because they knew how much I liked it, how passionate I was. And the more passionate you are about your interests, the more you bring them in and you get them like excited about these things. Not only is it expressing a zest for life, and expressing a zest for life and passionate right there is an attractive quality, but more importantly, what it does is it creates this world that the two of you share. These things that when you're not around remind her of you, and they take up mental space. So try to think of ways that you can become more sticky to a girl, whether it's the way you talk, whether it's the thing you're passionate about, whether it's, even something like wearing a certain cologne can make you sticky. Because if you have a cologne, you always wear the same cologne, now when you're not around, when that girl smells that cologne, she's going to think about you. You want things that get her thinking about you when you're not around. But more importantly, though, you want to get her using your way of talking, indoctrinating into your being. You want her to enter into your reality. You don't want to enter into her reality. Too many guys, especially guys that wind up in the friend zone, one of the reasons they do is they enter her reality. They start talking the way she talks. They start being interested in her passions. Make it the other way around. Suck her into what you're interested in, your passions, your way of talking, your adjectives, your way of describing things. All right, the next thing is strategically unmasking. Strategically unmasking is, I've described it in some of my other programs as demonstrating a cool vulnerability of, you don't want to break down and completely like naked in front of her emotionally. But you do want to let things slip out at well-timed moments. I call it strategic vulnerability. And this can be really effective. I had, I was friends with a girl, and she actually used this technique on me, and it absolutely drove me crazy, and it kind of, it worked. Is that this girl was kind of like a very, an emotionally closed-off girl. Very fun, but she didn't, let her emotions out too often. And she was a friend of mine, but one day she broke down telling me that she hated seeing me with other girls. She got so jealous. She gave me that glimpse, but then the next time she closed it back off, and she didn't show it to me again. She didn't talk about it. She went back to being her cold, hard self. I got a glimpse of it, but I wanted it more, and it drove me crazy that it was there and I couldn't get back to it. And it serves a lot of different purposes. One, it made her human. Two, it gave me something to chase. It gave me something I wanted back. And that's what you want to do to girls. You want to give them a glimpse of this vulnerability, unmasking around them, letting her see a little bit deeper side of you, but only give her a glimpse. Because if she sees it over and over again, then you come across as too vulnerable. You come across as sort of the pussy boy, just a girly boy. You don't want to be that guy that's always emotional, always you want to just give her a glimpse of it at a well-timed moment. Ways to do that. Maybe you can admit to the game. So maybe it's a girl you can say, you know what, I was totally hitting on you that night and you didn't even realize it, or you're saying something that was true and you're admitting to something. Maybe it's expressing something you felt about her, like telling her, when I first met you, I was really intimidated by you. You just had this aura about you that kind of made me nervous. That I never felt that way about a girl before. And you unmask, but then you take it away. You don't give her that too often, because then it's nice guy, then it's lame. But you do it at well-timed moments. I had a friend, Daryl, who, when he would be hooking up with a girl early on, he would say, I love you in the heat of kissing her. But then he act like he never said it, and it would drive girls crazy, because they'd be like, a lot of these girls I knew because I worked with them, I was in a social circle with them, and they would tell me Daryl said I love you, but now he's acting like he's not even into me. What's the deal? And it was because he expressed this, and then he took it away. It kind of goes back to that validation, withholding validation. Like I said, though, you can't always be this way. You don't want to always be unmasking, but you do want to let that side out. You do want to occasionally let her see a wounded side of you, or admit to something embarrassing, display some vulnerability. You want her to see this, give her glimpses of it, let her know it's there, but do not show it to her too often. The dirty little secret. Now, this one, it can go both ways. I personally like it. It's sort of an advanced kind of thing. What it ultimately is you don't want to be a cliche. You don't want to be the character, the guy that she can figure out. You don't want to be the guy that it's like, oh, what is Bobby like? Oh, he's the kind of guy. He's in he likes football. He's in a fantasy league. He works this job. He goes out on the weekends, and he's in a bowling league. Like, you gotta have elements to your personality that she can't figure out, that she needs to dig further into. Examples of that from my friends' lives. I had a friend who, back in college, had been accused of like a sexual, I don't want to say rape, it wasn't rape, like a sexual assault charge, a girl he was dating, and it was a bullshit charge. Everybody kind of knew it was a bullshit charge, but it was something that he was really embarrassed about because the girl was paranoid about her boyfriend finding out and made up this charge, and later on, when he was actually out there dating girls, he was like, he had it hidden away, and he would always like not know if he should say anything, but then he's like, if they find out from somebody, it'll be worse. So he would always tell them, hey, I got to tell you this, that I back in college, I had this charge. And what was interesting, he found, was that it almost made the girls more attracted to him because now there became a side of him that was sort of this dark, mysterious side of like, wait a minute, what really happened that night? It can work in so many different ways. I mean, even I give the example of my ex-girlfriend who, she was this really good girl, but then there was that time that she just fucked some guy in a random situation, and I couldn't understand it. It was like the side of her that I just needed to find more about. She never showed me that side, and the fact that I knew that side existed was like a mystery to me. Think about when you read a book or you watch a movie. The characters in the book or the movie that are most interesting are the ones that you can't figure out. When you watch a movie and it's just like the good guy and he's just a total good guy, the character's kind of boring. But the characters that are sort of in the middle and you don't really know if they're the good guy or the bad guy, those are the ones that we get really drawn to. So you want to have a side that she needs to dig further into. It could be a variety of things. It could be something you did in your past, an interest you have. I mean, it could be, maybe you're an MMA fighter. You're in, you're a white collar job. You're an accountant, but on the side you fight MMA, and that side of you is intriguing to her because it goes so much against what your personality is that she can't figure it out. And like we talked about with the Zeigenderic effect, is that it creates psychic tension when the mind can't figure something out. So you want to have elements that you let her know about that she can't figure out. Have a cold side. And I say this one very, very cautiously. I don't want you to go out there and be mean, but you also don't want to be Mr. Nice Guy. You don't want to always be agreeable. You don't want to, when she does something that's really rude, you don't want to always be like, oh, that's okay, don't worry about it. You want to have that side of you that calls her out on her bullshit. Maybe even be a little moody at times, very sparingly with the moodiness, but you want to maybe snap every once in a while. Like what? Like when she calls, like act, when you answer the phone, maybe be a little cold on the phone. And the reason you want to do this is because it makes her long for you to be nice. If you're always nice, she takes it for granted. If you have a little bit of a moody side or you have a little bit of a cold side, and I don't at all mean like being rude or being like calling her names or anything like that. I just mean calling her on her bullshit, being a little cold, distant. Maybe you snap on her for something, just verbally, like a verbal, like what? Like you kind of like take her by surprise, because that's going to make her appreciate when you are nice a lot more. And it sounds, even sounds kind of messed up saying it, but it's true. It's like when you're always nice, they take it for granted. But when a woman is like happy that she knows that you have that other side of you, she's going to appreciate the niceness a lot more than if you're just always nice. So have a cold side and don't be afraid to show it. Ignite the chase. This is where you appear to be losing interest. take a step back and make her come to you. This will be where she wants you the most. Like I said, the phone call, when you're not answering the call, she begins to think about you. But when you appear to lose interest, when you start seeing like she in her mentally thinks that she's losing you, that desire to possess you again kicks in strongly. So you want to occasionally, not too often because then it just gets ridiculous, but occasionally almost seem to be slipping away, like you're losing interest, like all of a sudden you don't want to hang out. I mean, a way to do that simply is, let's say you've gotten in a habit with a girl that every weekend you hang out with her. Every weekend you hang out with her. And that's just the habit you've had for the last month. But now, this weekend, all of a sudden you say, I'm going to hang out with my friends this weekend. And you don't give her like a good reason. You don't explain it. You don't say, oh, it's somebody's birthday. You just say, I want to hang out with my friends this weekend. All of a sudden, in her mind, she's like, I'm losing it. He's slipping away. He'd rather hang out with his friends this weekend. You know, a lot of you might think she's not gonna like me but trust me, counterintuitive. When you say you want to hang out with your friends, she may bitch, she may complain, she may seem upset, but she is going to want you even more, and the chase is going to be ignited. Do not be afraid to take a step back and make her come to you. So the points to remember, the things that you want to keep in mind throughout an entire sort of courtship is, would you make an interesting character in a book? Keep that in mind. Are you the guy that is an interesting three-dimensional character, or are you the boring nice guy who you can predict everything he's going to do and say? You want to be the character that is interesting. Are there ups and downs in the courtship? Are there moments where you don't know what's going on, where there's a lot of drama and suspense, or is everything just a giant good time? Because giant good times get boring quickly. Is she uncertain where she stands with you? If she knows she has you, it's gonna get really boring. She knows she has you. She doesn't have to think about you. When a woman knows she has you, you don't take up space in her mind, and the other guy on Facebook who's chatting with her begins to take up space because she doesn't know she has him. So you want to make sure that she never completely knows she has you. So those are ultimately the elements of a seduction. Those are the elements. That's what you need to keep in mind. Are you the interesting character in the book? Are you providing enough drama? Does she know that she has you? And have you validated her? I want to stress that one because you need to provide her that validation. She needs to feel special. She needs to feel like she has won you over by demonstrating all these special, unique qualities that only you are recognizing. That's how a woman falls in love with you. When you combine this, when you combine what you're learning here in this video, these tactics, these mindsets, all these ingredients to the seduction, the ingredients to creating mind control, and then you take everything you're learning in the Unlock Her Legs program in regards to how to talk to her, how to, when you're in front of her, when you're with her, what to do, what to say, how to progress, you become unstoppable. You have the ability to really, get any girl, especially that hard-to-get girl that you really want, and we all have her. She's the reason most of us get in the game, is because we want a specific girl, and this is how you get that specific girl. So if you need to review this entire, part 1 and part 2 of this section of the program, I suggest doing it and then moving on to the Unlock Her Legs training videos and PDFs and stuff, because you need to know this as well. It's a combination. It works in synergy. So hope that you found this helpful, and feel free to review it.